Hey friends, PlayStation was kind enough to send me a PSVR2, yay! And some software to try out with it, double yay. So I wanted to make a video going over what you could expect should you be curious about getting one of these babies for yourself, and fill you in on my experience so far with the latest Sony headset to date. So let's do it. The PSVR2 is a significant improvement over the original PSVR, which was released back in 2016. The new headset has an OLED display with a resolution of 2000 by 2040 pixels per eye, with a field of view of approximately 110 degrees, which is a big improvement over the 1080p resolution 100 degree field of view of the original PSVR. High res is especially important in VR headsets because the screen is positioned so close to your eyeballs and you don't want to be able to visibly see individual pixels. Not only might that be disconcerting from like a motion sickness perspective, but it would certainly take you out of the immersion of whatever the experience or game is. Now, in addition to the higher resolution and wider field of view display, the new PSVR2 also includes inside-out tracking, which means that there will be no need for external cameras or sensors. That makes it so much easier to set up and use. Thank goodness. That's honestly something that I always really appreciated about the Quest headsets, because setting up the cameras I have in the corners of my room, you can actually see the cable hanging by the keyblade back there. And here I'll show you all the way up there. Those things are no fun to set up. You've got cords hanging everywhere, and it's a real pain in the tushy to have to do all that extra setup. So I'm really, really glad that the PSVR2 does not require that. Also, as far as other tech you do need to use the PSVR2, you need to be connected via this cable right here in the back to a PS5. The PSVR2 was designed specifically for the PS5. The original PSVR headset will work with both PS4 or PS5 as long as you have an adapter if you're using it with the PS5. And other headsets typically require connection to a high-end gaming PC, like Valve or HTC's headsets. The exception to this is standalone headsets like those that either run off a mobile phone slid into the headset or the Quest headsets, but there are limitations in terms of graphics, computing, and software, at least as of the time of recording this video, whenever you go with a standalone VR headset. One new feature of the PSVR2 that other headsets do not have that I've been loving is eye tracking. So the headset can track where you're looking when you're using the headset. I've messed with eye tracking on gaming laptops and desktops before, and when it works well, it can provide a pretty cool experience in terms of aim assist, camera control, and stuff like that. But it's a little spotty and hit and miss in laptops and desktops in my experience. Now in VR, I found it makes menu navigation significantly easier, and I don't mind the extra help in VR with the aim either. I'm looking forward to seeing different ways that more game developers can incorporate this extra input, like the indie game Before Your Eyes that won a bunch of awards recently and that we covered on The Gong Show on my Twitch channel as well. It's very cool. You control it with your eyeballs. Neat. Headset aside, let's chat the new Sense controllers. Dun-da-da. PSVR2's Sense controllers have both haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. This means that the headset and the controllers can either work together or individually to provide physical feedback to users, like vibrations or resistance, which will help to make virtual reality experiences feel a little bit more immersive and realistic. The combo of the haptics and the adaptive triggers works great in games like Horizon Call of the Mountain, and just based on how well devs have been able to incorporate this type of tech from the DualSense controllers on the PS5 in non-VR titles like Astro's Playroom and God of War Ragnarok, I'm really stoked to see where this tech goes. VR's all about immersion, so any steps we can take to feeling more in-world, the better, in my opinion. In terms of software, the PSVR2 supports a wide range of games and experiences. Resident Evil Village, RE4, Gran Turismo 7, Hitman 3, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, Moss 1 and 2, and probably a whole bunch more that I can't think of right now. So actual games, not just like roller coaster sim tech demos like some VR libraries seem to be cluttered with. I imagine that Sony will have more exclusive games in the pipeline as well, which as a VR fan excites me because I'm always looking to see more innovation come to the software end of VR. A lot of folks have made the argument that VR software software is the holdup to VR becoming more mainstream. And if we had more games like, say, Half-Life Alyx, more people would jump on board the VR train, if there is a VR train. Choo-choo. As a huge VR fan who's been watching this space from both the tech enthusiast side and the gaming fan perspective, I think that there's a few things at play that have kept people from buying into VR 100%. Barriers to entry like high cost, not incredibly user-friendly setup, lack of interesting software, fears of motion sickness, and so much more. I know every time I've been streaming using the PSVR2 so far, the conversation that everyone's having in chat is that they don't know if they'd be motion sick, so they're hesitant to jump in, and that is probably the number one concern. I'm personally glad to see that a lot of this has improved drastically over the years, so no longer requiring a $3,000 gaming PC to run your $1,500 VR headset is a great start. So is taking away the extra device setup like the cameras and cables and sensors needing to be set up all around your room. And as the tech gets better, paired with new software-based accessibility and movement settings, I've personally found that I experience any kind of motion sickness or vertigo way less than I did 10 and even 5 years ago. So if you haven't tried VR in a while, I encourage you to check it out again if you're someplace that has a VR demo. Overall, PSVR2 is one of the most exciting virtual reality headsets on the market right now. It's got improved hardware, eye tracking, the new controllers, support for haptic feedback, the adaptive triggers, and a whole library of software. PSVR2 is definitely one to consider if you're interested in getting more into the VR space. I do want to caveat though, as a parent, this headset, like many others, is not recommended for children under 12. Aside from online interaction with other players in VR, which I'm glad I don't have to deal with my little dealing with other players online yet, but we'll all get there eventually. Aside from dealing with online players in VR, there's still not a ton of data on how little developing brains and eyeballs react to having a screen strapped inches from their face. Until then, the recommendation is to save it for the older kids. All right, everyone, that's it. Thanks for watching, and be kind to one another. And thanks again to PlayStation for sending the PSVR 2 and some of the software to try out. And yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you soon. Bye.